Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Total Nonstop Pod. As you can tell, it's me, your host with the most, Gene, and I've got my boy Will with me tonight, and we are going to go over and discuss NXT Wargames with the big old pay-per-view this week, and then also too, we're gonna throw in a little AEW. We're gonna throw a little discussion in there as well. So let's talk about War Games.
Yes.
The big old talking point being what the pay-per-view is about. It was actually not too bad. I thought aesthetically, and I'm just going to mention this about the whole, I guess, stage and the way they got it. It actually looked not that bad, but you could tell it was a little bit crammed. They used the walkway, connected it to the two rings and everything that was going on. But it looked good. Aesthetically, it looked good. It gave the dimension of it being, it's all about the two rings. It's all about, War Games. So kicking it off the night was the good old women's War Games match. Team Chauncey versus Team LeRae. I thought it was really funny how Team LeRae came out looking more like the whole Ozzy Osbourne gimmick. Being that they were celebrating also too the 50th anniversary of Black Sabbath's song War Pigs. So like that was the aesthetic was with Team LeRae was very Ozzy-ish or Ozzy-esque, where I figured Chauncey Blackheart would be the one with that, but no, they were all like, you could tell they were individual who they were. But at the end of the day, we got to see a new tank for Miss Blackheart that actually fired a projectile out of the cannon.
Oh my goodness!
But the funny thing was, there were some injuries. We do know that there were some injuries in this match. Candice LeRae broke her wrist and basically the bump or the high spot, if you want to talk about it, was. So Chauncey sets up a ladder. LeRae was on the bottom with a bunch of chairs. LeRae grabs a chair as Chauncey's coming down. So she's already coming down. There's can't stop, can't do anything. And she holds the chair, and the chair sort of came in on the wrist when she dropped, so it snapped that wrist. The other one was, I think, Dakota Kai hurt her arm. I'm not quite sure if it was an arm or a leg injury. I was figuring out of anybody that got injured, it would have been Io Shirai.
Yeah.
For one, the high spot with the no look trash can, I'm inside the trash can come down, and then Dakai squishing her and trapping her, infusing her into the trash can. Yeah. So what I mean. That was something. But at the end of the day, the person that looked strong and got the pin over Io Shirai was Gonzalez. I forget her first name. I always forget her first name, but I got her last name, Gonzalez. And it was funny that they pushed over the heel group, if you will, and how the pin went. But I think it's good. They're trying to make Gonzalez look strong, and she got the pin over the women's champion. So at the end of the day, that's what you want. That's exactly what you want, right?
Yep. And generally, you see in matches like that, generally you see the faces go over, but this time you got the heels.
You got the heels. I think it was more for with this. If you look at the group of women that were in the match, I think it's you're setting your tone for your women's division. And Amber Moon, she started the whole match, and with her and Dakota Kai, and they were strong for the entire match. So I'm not going to put nothing against them. These 8 women that were in that match, for only having, I think, a few of them without having any experience in that the women's war games, for it being the second women's war game, was actually, it delivered. It gave me everything that you didn't get. If you didn't watch 2019's and you taught this one, and this was your first women's war games match, it was good. It kept up to that same build. Moving on from that match. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say real quick. I'm not too much of a fan of Dakota Kai, but I will give her props. She's improved a lot since she's been in NXT. Ember's coming off injury, and that was my big concern with Ember in this match. Could she get through this healthy? And she did. So hopefully we can see those two get back together in a few soon. I expect Ember to be competing for the NXT Women's Championship at some point. The year's almost over, so we might see one more run with that title next year.
I think, and yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think, like I said, those 8 women that are in it are all going to be vying for that women's title. I think they're just setting up. The strongest lady right now is Gonzalez, in my eyes.
Most definitely.
And it was a perfect way of doing it. Rochelle, there we go. I finally got her first name, Rochelle Gonzalez. By her putting Dakota Kai through the ladder and pinning her and showing dominance for her team, really is starting that branch out of Dakota Kai's or after she pinned Io Shirai, really getting her out of Dakota Kai's shadow and making her more of that dominant player within the NXT Women's Division. So keep all eyes into that. Moving on, the next match was you had Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa. This, to me, was a drag-out, knockout, old-school battle, if you want to sort of say. It was the clash of styles, where both guys can give that mat game, but both of them have that hard ground and pound. But you have that seasoned veteran of NXT in Tommaso versus this new guy that's trying to pull off almost the same thing that Tommaso is trying to do. So it really, really was a really good match. I do believe some type of injury, but there was some bleeding coming out of the side of Thatcher's ear from the constant hits. But it was what it was supposed to be. It was a knockout, drag-out match. Tommaso Ciampa did pick up the victory, but it was well worth the watch. For me, as an old school guy that likes that old school mat ground based wrestling, we got a lot of that. Don't get me wrong, there was some, heavy hitting spots. There were some bumps that you were like, oh my, it got you involved, but it brought everything it was supposed to. It told a story within the ring without really having to tell too much of a story outside of the ring. So it was definitely really, really good for me. Then moving on from that part, we get the strap match between Grimes, Cameron Grimes, and Dexter Lumis. To me, this was well-taught story work for me. The story building up to this, where Grimes is being scared of Lumis. They've had numerous different matches from, they had a blindfolded match. They had, the whole zombie and the house match. They're over in Halloween Havoc. this being that there's no place for Grimes to run, no place for him to go, no place for him to be able into, he can use what he wants, but they're going to be tied together within the strap. I thought it was really funny. So Dexter Lumis comes out. He's, all inspiring as always, giving those, cold, dead blood stares. And Corey Grimes brings out, or Cameron Grimes brings out his own strap, and he's, pantering to the crowd. And so when they're going to get the strap put on, Cameron Grimes is playing it up like, no, not yet. And then they're going to have a bag and has like another strap in it. And he's like, no, I'm not using that strap. I'm using this strap. This is the strap we're going to use. The match doesn't get going, and he's beaten the living out of Dexter Lumis with the strap. They finally get the strap on Dexter Lumis, and this is where the match gets going. It was a good match back and forth. I like the story that Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes is telling. I think it suits both of them. And for a while, I think Dexter Lumis was really getting stale being, you could only be the stalker-ish character for so long. And if you got really nobody to play off of, like he was playing off of, Undisputed Era for a while. But when people get injured and the story goes awry, goes another way, how do you work? This was perfect to work with Cameron Grimes. It really puts Cameron Grimes for me in a bigger picture down the road for like a North American title shot. What he did in that big old match that he had when he was trying to become North American title, it confirms that's why he was there. And if you watch that match with Dexter Lumis, it was fun. It was a really good match. There were some high spots, there were some bumps. There was some moments where you're like, oh my, Cameron Grimes could win this. But in all, Dexter Lumis made some tap out, made some say night, and you get the one and only Dexter Lumis going over, which for me, it's the right person to go over in this match. So can't complain one bit. Before we talk about the next match, we can go to a quick commercial break.
Yes, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of the show. Stick around. We'll be back.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I'll be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let them know you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show them who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to cross.
And don't forget to check out the Huddle Podcast every Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Brandon, and Josh bring you up-to-date action from the week in the NFL. All right, G, let's continue.
Let's continue. Now we get into the big old triple threat for the North American Championship. We had Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, and at the time, the current champion, everybody wants to call him the dollar store or Walmart version of Lio Rush.
That's what he is.
Leon Ruff. I like the little video package. It really detailed the whole thing going on. That Leon is this essentially everybody, it was like a makeshift champion. He's only holding it until somebody bigger comes along. You get that sense. But then they also built the story around, well, maybe he's not just, a flash in the pan, not a fluke. And they really built the match real well. My only nitpick about the match, like once everybody got in and it got going, was Damian Priest played it to be like every time Ruff was trying to do something, it was almost like watching a dog. You ever see that cartoon with the dog, the two dogs? There was a big bulldog, a little dog. The little dog's running around, and the big guy would smack him and just tell him
get
going, you know what I mean? And didn't really pay no attention. That's exactly how Leon was in this entire match. It was like it was just comical to watch because Leon's hitting him. He's like, I don't want to hurt you, dude. Just get out of the way. I don't think they needed all the extra scream masks. They didn't need all of that. Like, the match itself was already being a bit comical, and then to pull off the ending the way they did, I get that. It was great that they brought this new faction this week, as we already saw, with the Way, the Johnny Gargano Way is now it's now a group, it's a faction.
Oh my God.
But like, whoever told Austin Theory, like, hey, you go out there in that stream match, you go ahead and hit Damian Priest with the pipe, and then when you win, you sell the best 2 lines. It was me, Austin. Oh my. It was like, geez, are we going back here to the time machine? Just the only people that ever pulled a good time machine backwards gimmick was the New Day. And when Kofi Kingston came out and goes, hey, there could be trouble in paradise, and then they pull him back. No, 2009 was my best year. Right. Nobody can pull that off better than them. Amen. This was, to me, at the end of the day, I don't really feel like Johnny Gargano needed to be a 3-time champion. I think they only did that to sell more T-shirts, to sell this gimmick, to sell this group. But at the end of the day, Johnny doesn't really need it. I think Johnny's at the point now where he should be looking at either going for Finn Balor, and we should get Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano, or looking to be moved up maybe into a SmackDown or a mid-card role in Raw. But he's no longer there. There's very little more that you can do with Johnny Gargano within NXT. Right. You can't keep him there anymore unless you're going to take him off television and put him behind the scenes for NXT. Like, really no more that can be done for the man. And it's nothing to do, story-wise or whatnot. I really don't see this story playing off very too much more longer, unless they're trying to build, this is the stepping stone to build Austin Theory bigger by using Johnny Gargano. That could be a jump off for him. But in a whole, the match was okay. Johnny Gargano, the villain, gets over, the heel gets over, and gets the title, and it's building towards this. My felt was coming out of it, we're going to get another Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano match. But later on this week, it didn't look that way. So, as story progresses, moving on into the main event, the men's War Games match, the video package, I loved. Just how they played in the War Pig song, how they showcased, like, here was Pat McAfee's team, the Kings of Entertainment. They're dominating. They were away because of, all these injuries and guys were gone, and how, when Finn Balor gets back, he brings the UE back in, and they totally wreck house, and they start talking about, they've been away, they've been rejuvenating themselves, and they really got to get back onto that being the top. The video package, if you didn't get hyped for the match by any of the video packages for this, and if you weren't watching what was going on, bro, this match was phenomenal. I got to give it to O'Reilly. I got to give it to Bobby Fish. I got to give it to, the UE. And I even got to give it to Pat McAfee and all the guys. Pete Dunne being the only guy that, other than the Undisputed Era, having experience in there, this looked really, really good. There were moments in this match where I legit hated Pat McAfee's team. When they had the advantages, when they had the cricket bats and their wrecking house. I thought it funny and ironic with the tables that they brought in that all had their names on it. That these are the people that are going to go through these tables, and we're going to end the UE. The only person that actually gone through their table was Roger Strong. Everybody else, except for Fish, where they had it planted up, and that's where he drew somebody else through. All the other ones, O'Reilly never went through his table. I think it was. Oh, wow. I think Pat McAfee went through that one, and the Adam Cole was the stacked the team that got driven through.
Ooh.
There was some stiff shots and there were some points in that match where you could tell things were supposed to break but didn't break. They had to redo things. They really worked on the fly. Pat McAfee, once again, phenomenal guy. He's really willing to give of himself and for the business and get over. Like he put in the work. He went to the top of the cage, jumped up, did a homage to Jeff Hardy, if you will. The good old swanton dive off the top.
No swanton.
Yeah. Oh, it was phenomenal all the way through. I liked how Pat McAfee tried to pull off, being the Adam Cole of his group and tried to pull off the, as we know, the Canadian Destroyer. They call it the Panama Sunrise, but he tried to pull it off on Adam Cole, and it got reverse super kick. The biggest thing out of this all was the end spots, the finishing, where Bobby Fish, he tore his tricep, so he's out right now. He pulled. I think he put Church through through a table that was pulled up, and when he went through, he tore his tricep, so he's out. The ending though was phenomenal, where I think he put. I forget now the other guy. It wasn't Pete Dunne, but it was one of the other ones from the NXT tag team. Oni Larkin got paste faced with a chair from the face, and it was he first came into a super kick from Adam Cole, laid him out, and then they put a chair there, and O'Reilly came off the ropes and stomped onto the chair, onto his face, and that was it. 1, 2, 3, and the Undisputed Era wins. It really showcased a lot more of O'Reilly, Fish, and Strong, because Adam Cole didn't come until the end, and there's very little that Cole did, but he had his spots and his bumps like normal. But really, this was a good match overall for the UE. I think this is what they needed. But this is also leading into now what do you do with the UE for me? It's like, okay, yes, War Games was great. It was awesome. I think at this point you're looking at guys like, well, we were talking about this, Bobby Fish being out.
Yeah.
He's up there in age. You can't put him over onto the main roster. He's going to be NXT. Strictly at this point, I think it's about time that you're either going to, like we're talking about some of the other ones, with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, you're looking at those guys and you're going, are we putting them in training roles? Are we throwing them more into the back? Or if we do set them to main event or to the main roster, are they going to sit as mid-carders? I really myself personally think it'd be the perfect time to really have Bobby Fish and O'Reilly branch out of the UE, have that one more push at a tag at the NXT tag teams. If it doesn't come about, shoot them to the main roster. Let them try to go for the tag teams there once. Give them the tag teams once, and then if O'Reilly gets bigger than Bobby Fish, no shirt off, nobody's back. Send him back to NXT to help train. That's how I would play that, and I think that would work correct. But at this point, I think it's about time that you're going to have to pull the trigger on Adam Cole moving out of NXT.
I'm Cole, baby.
And it's the truth. I think really at this point, this is where you need to focus on taking him out of NXT, branch him into the main roster, and really start solidifying Adam Cole, because Adam Cole is going to be that guy that's going to carry the company.
Oh yeah, at some point
we see that.
You see that at some point.
Yeah, you see that, and he portrays that. Like I said, like to really break down the War Games in general, to give it a rating, I would actually have to give it a B+. Like it's not an A, A++, let's go all crazy, but it's definitely a B+ for sure, and definitely that quality. It's something that I would recommend if somebody was like, hey, I want to get into NXT, I want to watch, what's this about? I recommend this match. It's definitely was really good. It was well taken. Probably going to be in their highlight packages for sure.
Oh yeah.
For the coming year.
Most definitely. All right.
So
let's do this. Go ahead. Finish up.
I was just going to say, as we're getting into it here, before we move on to our next little bit of talking topic, which is going to be the partnership of AEW to NXT or Impact. I was going to say NXT. AEW with Impact, the merge that they're doing, and we'll talk about a few things there. Let's go on and head on to another commercial break.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and do another commercial break, guys. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
That's right.
And don't forget to join my boys, my crew, my man Tommy, my man Justin, every Saturday morning at 8 p.m. Central Time. Take note of that time, Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Remember that. Don't get caught with that. But join those boys. They're going to go and get you caught up on all the college football and also over the bowl games as well. All right, what's our next thing on the slate, Mr. Gene?
Well, we're going to talk about this whole pairing between AEW and Impact, and how this could how could this be utilized to the best of both companies' ability, and is it a fizzling phase, or is this something that's just going to be a pop pizzazz to get them over? My opinion, and as we're seeing like how they're building it with Kenny Omega and Don Callis being this whole, father son type, a father gimmick type thing that they're pulling off. I enjoy it. It's really getting Kenny back into that cleaner gimmick that we want, that we've been waiting for. It's getting him that proverbial, showing him that he can be a heel is just as bad as an MJF or Chris Jericho. I think, down the road, as Kenny Omega seasons it, it'll get better. But definitely showcasing him as that heel that we've seen in Japan, because pretty much we're getting some of the same stuff too. Like, listen to the promo. Like, I don't care what you guys think. I don't care what the fans think. That was the whole thing he did in Japan that got him real big over. Was he was a guy, Gene. He already knew how to speak Japanese, but he chose not to. He was like, I don't care because I don't speak Japanese. You don't have to learn how to speak English. I don't care. You know what I mean? Bringing that same type of flair and pizzazz, but the rebrand, the retwist for it over here in the West, over here in the East, definitely works. Definitely. I love it. It's gold. It's money. I love this Kenny Omega that we're getting. Everybody wants to talk about how it was a gentleman's match, and there's not going to be no foul play, and then he breaks his own rules to get the title. And that's what they're talking about. I thought it was perfect. That's the way you build the heel. That's the whole premise behind it. This working relationship with NXT, I see this as it's for me how it feels. It's a one-way streak. It's not helping.
Working relationship with NXT, or
they're working with Impact. Sorry, the Impact AEW working. I feel it's like, and I don't want to gripe and I don't want to harp too much that this isn't this, but to me it feels like a one-way street. Why I say this is this can be very beneficial for AEW in its women's division, and that's pretty much about it. Because at the end of the day, AEW doesn't need any help in its tag team division. Strong tag team division. The teams they have, strong.
Agree.
You don't need any help in that mid-carder, if you want to talk about the TNT Championship. You've already got a big name that's developing that in Cody Rhodes, but you also have the big names that you're getting like Darby Allin, you're getting, Brian Cage, and all those. Those guys are getting over. They're working well. That division, that mid-card, is pretty much stacked if you want to talk about it. And the heavyweight title division, you've got names there. Now that Cody's there, he can work with almost everybody and anybody. You can put him up against, a Pentagon or a Hangman or a Jericho or an MJF or a Sammy Guevara and any of those guys, even Lance Archer, and go, hey, he can bang out good matches. This is, I think, where you're going to start seeing Kenny Omega bringing back that 7-star, 6-star matchmaker in the pay-per-views now that he's holding the title. So for me, where they're lacking in AEW was the women's division. What has always had a strong women's division? I'm not saying that WWE never had a strong women's division, because they had that. But Impact has always, as in the Indies, has had a really strong women's division.
Yes.
And this is the way you help that. I say this, and I've thought about this today. You have a great heel. You have the women's heel in Britt Baker. Yep. Everybody hates her, but you need a strong female face.
You do.
And some of the faces over in Impact for the women's division would be perfect. You could get a really good name from Impact. Like you're saying there with the tag team of Jazz and Jordan Grayson. Mm-hmm. She's already over as a good, strong face.
Yep.
People already see her as a face. Now you have the strong baby face. You have a very strong heel. That's always the dynamic. You need, as strong as you have a heel, you need a strong face to go along with that.
Exactly.
It goes back to the dynamic in the 80s. You had it when you had Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. You had it in the 90s when you had Austin and The Rock. So yeah. But no, you've had it in that strong dynamic with Austin and The Rock. You know what I mean? The face to the heel gimmick. It's always got over it. That's what draws money. You need that the same way in the women's division for AEW. Don't get me wrong, the current women's champion that they have, she's a good face, but she's not that. If I look at her, I believe if she was today to go up against Britt Baker, putting the title on the line, the company is going to go, we're dropping that belt to Britt. Right. And she's going to have that, you know what I mean? You don't, and then when you put it on Britt, then it backs you into that corner because you don't have any other strong contenders in that division to go up against. Oh, everybody's going to say, well, you got Awesome Kong, you got Brandy Rhodes, you have the Bunny, but they're pulling off multiple different things, so their focus is not really truly going to be able to be set to be like, I can devote my time if I won that championship. You want somebody who's going to be all about that championship. Yep. There's only a choice select few of people. And I thought that the way they were going with the NWA, that they would bring more of that, because there are some strong women in that division in the NWA, like Thunder Rosa, Elise, and all these others.
Camille.
And I do see them there, but they're more playing in the AEW Dark. And I feel like they're just like, we're going to throw those off to the side. And I think this whole Impact thing was a way to really gain some stronger female talent.
Let me ask you this. Do you see a combined pay-per-view?
I think you'll see a few. Combined pay-per-views. To me, this gives me the feel, if you remember back to when Impact and Lucha Underground worked together. And it was a very short time. I think a lot of it was because Lucha was still developing. It was still
developing around about that time. Yeah.
Yeah, they were still getting their feet underneath them. They still weren't really sure on what direction. And then, anyways, they crumbled anyways. And most of the guys that were in Lucha Underground went to Impact anyways.
Yep.
So I see this as the same thing. I can't say that this is going to break Impact because it won't. But it's where it's going to break them or hurt them a bit. It's going to hurt them in that women's division, because that's what I see. If I'm Tom, if I'm the execs, and I'm looking at this deal that you guys are managing to give me, I'm going to try to maximize my profit. Where am I going to maximize it? Everybody's talking how bad my women's division is and how lackluster it is with the talent I'm going to grab from a good indie talent, which is the Impact. Impact always picks really good talent. So
and to bring Jazz back was just because I thought because she pretty much retired a couple of years ago, and then all of a sudden she comes back, and man,
it was to work with Jordan Grace and to give her one last championship. She never won a women's knockout or women's tag team ever. I don't think, or if she has, it's
no, she didn't because around that time, she was the champion over in WWF.
Yeah.
But she was there for a little bit, but WWF they still didn't do right by Jazz. She did an interview a couple of months back saying how this kind of disrespected her in merchandising. She never had an action figure. She never had any clothing or whatnot like other ladies did. So she was talking about she was being done wrong.
Look back at that time. That was a lot of time when Theodore Long was making his own group at that time. There was a lot of decisiveness where they were going with certain people. Jazz was just, I think, to be completely honest, I don't think they meant to, but they forgot about her.
Yeah, I think
that's what it was. She got pushed through the shuffle of people and totally got forgotten about, because don't get me wrong, Jazz was a strong competitor. When she became women's champion, a lot of people were like, "Oh, who's going to take it off of her?"
Trish.
Yeah, and that was at a time when Trish was strong. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to deny that Trish wasn't good, or everybody's going, "Oh, Trish was just a." No, Trish put the time in. Same with Lita. There was only a handful in that moment that you go, okay, here's some good wrestling. It was Trish, Victoria, Lita, Jazz. Those were the few and far between, and then everybody else was just bubble gummed, whatever.
Oh yeah,
and Molly Holly. Can't forget Molly Holly.
Can't forget Molly.
But those were your top. Those were your top five. Those were your top five, and then you know what I mean.
Jacqueline too.
Yeah, but that what I'm talking about is really close to that when they were going to the ruthless aggression era
stage. Yeah.
Yeah, you had Jazz, you had Lita, you had Victoria, you had Trish, and then you had Molly, who were really your five bases, and then everybody else you just push pan forever. Yeah. So,
all right. Yep. All right, guys. I want to go ahead and take our last commercial break. Hang in with us. We'll be right back. And don't forget to check out the Paradigm Shift Wrestling Podcast, where we swing the paradigm of professional wrestling. Join myself, Gene, Josh, Brandon, and Tommy every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern for the Paradigm Shift Wrestling Podcast. All right, Gene, go ahead.
All those chills, spills, and thrills that we do over there and coming into the new year. Just before we go too further, and just want to let everybody know, yes, this coming week that is coming up, there will be no shows for the Pinfall Productions showcase due to the fact that it is going to be Christmas. But we will be back again the following week, and to catch y'all up with everything that's going on. But yes, this coming week, no shows. Also, too, what I want to talk about, and it did come through us, and everybody's finding out on Facebook. I want to throw our condolences out to Tommy Tiny Liston, the guy who played Zeus through No Holds Barred, and then recurred his role as Zeus in the WWF. He has passed at the age of 65. Just want to throw our condolences out to his family. Out of all the characters, and that movie was funny as heck for No Holds Barred. The whole grabbing the executive. Dude, you know what I mean? Like, still to this day, it's, people remember those little things.
Yes.
But getting back to everything normal, just again throwing out condolences out there. Getting back to everything. This to me, like I was saying, the AEW Impact, it only benefits one side. What's Impact getting out of this deal? Notoriety, fame. Everybody already knew them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being on a bigger. They're not on any bigger stage. I think they're on the television network that Anthem already owns. They're in a Tuesday time slot. Yes, you're going to be showcased on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. One on the Anthem network, and also two on TNT. But that's probably about it.
Yeah.
Is there? And then yes, we're talking like there's probably going to be a joint pay-per-view down the road. Could we get a better invasion angle? Maybe, but at the end of the day, to me, and I'm just gonna say this, to me, it feels Tony Khan is really trying to get his hands in to try to grab as many of these indie companies up, and I think at the same time to umbrella.
He's trying to take the Vince McMahon approach with the territories back in the day. He wants to bring all the indies under his fold, under his control, to make his roster bigger and be able to expand it. Hey, I ain't got a problem with it, man. Because if you can't beat them, buy them.
That's right.
That's what he's doing. And I don't have a problem with that.
I think this would have worked. To me, I feel this would have worked a lot better angle. And I know because of COVID, we can't really do this. But I think if AEW had started up, AEW had the year in, and the money that was being given from Tony Khan, I think the original angle for this was having Cody as their champion and then doing an invasion angle or a working angle with New Japan. Because they have the bracket of talent over there is a lot better. It is a deeper, especially with their light heavyweight division, their Super Juniors.
Right.
You had guys like Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., that guys that would be big money over here, but just wouldn't fit or just don't want to fit into that WWE sprinkling.
Right.
As plus having Bushido and having all those guys that are familiar with, if you want to call the Bullet Club.
Yes.
But I think that would have worked a lot better, and I think that would have been the pull that you would have had this elite versus, you have your chaoses, but it would have made the chaoses and all those different factions that they have in New Japan have to team together versus this elite. Would you see the Bullet Club back, their Bullet Club brethren, or would they? You know what I mean? That there's so many more stories. I think that was the original. With this whole Don Canales, Kenny Omega thing, I really think and you can tell it's a developing as it goes thing. There was no real rhyme or reason behind it.
Right.
You could tell it's been making up on the fly. Don't get me wrong. There's great chemistry between Kenny Omega and Don Callis, but it just feels so non-natural.
It feels forced. It feels very forced.
It feels like, okay, well, we had a set idea and plan, so we changed it up a little bit. But we had to go another angle,
right? And
we had to deal with what we got, because I really don't think, and like I was saying, I really don't think Impact needs this. This is not benefit. And at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's not going to benefit their tag team Impact's tag team division. It's not going to affect its X division or its heavyweight championship by no means. And don't get me wrong, I like the idea that Kenny's talking about, like, well, I'm already the champion, making AEW sound like it's like the superior brand.
Yeah.
I'm already the belt collector. I want to collect more gold, so I might show up on these brands and take your gold. I like that. It gives you that, proverbial heel over gimmick.
How far do you
But
think they'll take that? Do you think they'll ultimately dragging him?
I'm gonna say this. I think at the beginning, or with they start jumping off with this, they're really pulling this invasion angle. You might see that because it would work. It would work and help benefit towards what it would make Omega's cleaner, if you want to talk about it. That's what they're calling him, or his. I want to call this like the second coming gimmick, more of like a Seth Roth evil bad guy, because it plays into his one-winged angel, like Seth Roth coming, because Seth Roth was always known in the Final Fantasy games as like the superior bad guy.
Yeah.
He had everything, right?
You're right.
So if you're gonna make him, which he likes Final Fantasy, he likes Seth Roth. That's why he's got the one-winged angel and the V trigger. If you want to make it more to that, that's exactly, if I was Impact, I'd be like, hey, let him go for a month with having him have the X Division, the tag team, have him have all the gold in Impact, and then pretty much be like, if he does lose it, it's only because it's like, shenanigans, as we like to call it,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like a weird way of doing it so that it doesn't make him look completely weak, but at the same time, you're like, yeah, okay, they got one over. They just pulled the wool over, right?
And plus, it's, like you said earlier, it's more exposure for both companies because they'll be defending their titles on each show.
That's right. That's where the only benefit for Impact is. Impact in a whole, and I can see where they're doing it in a way. You got to pull yourself out of the whole fiasco that you had with Tessa Blanchard, and they're trying to get that white mark off them before the new year's over. I get that. And so how do you make things look great? And don't get me wrong, you've got a host full of guys back from the WWE that left. But like I have to mention this, and like I had said before, I said, where do we think EC3 should go to? And I said it straight up. I said, if everything goes right, EC3 should go over to Ring of Honor and really make Ring of Honor great. And look where he's at right now.
He can make, yeah.
And that's where he's at. He's in Ring of Honor, and he's doing well with that. They just brought back the Pure Championship, and he's helping with all that. And him and Jay Lethal are going to have a great match and stuff like this with the whole throwing the honor out. I think it's going to be great. But I think I want to say this, but deep down, I really don't. I really think at the end of the day, Kenny was sort of looking to go somewhere else, not because that words, not because no problem, not because he was booked wrong. Because again, we're talking about promises. There was a bunch of promises that was made, and AEW stuck to the one big promise is we're gonna, we're big guys. We're gonna book ourselves with bad for a year, and then we're gonna make ourselves look good as the next year progresses. They kept that promise,
and that was the only one thing, and that was the only one they kept.
Yeah, they had tons of promises, but they kept that, and I think that was a solid promise that they needed to keep. That was, I think, the one thing that the fans were like, you can screw us on all these other promises, but we want that one. And that's the one we truly want to see if you guys would stick to. And they did. They stuck to their guns. But at the end of the day, I think Kenny was feeling, you could tell Kenny wasn't feeling his position. He wasn't feeling where he was enjoying himself. Yeah. And I think at a point, Kenny was telling the guys, hey, it's great that we have our own company and, we're getting these guys over. I'd like to be put over by now. We've had the year in. I want to be put over. If I'm not getting pulled over, I think I might go with the WWE. I think I might go and broaden my horizons back in Japan, or I might go here, there, wherever. And I think that's the reason why he got the AEW title.
Makes sense.
I really think that. And, don't get me wrong. This is going to be good for AEW in the long run, as long as it's booked correctly. Yeah. But this whole Impact thing, I don't think really needed it. It was a way for Tony Khan to really build his female division at the end of the day.
He needed it bad.
It needed it, but it's it's a nice way of, we'll do business, but really what I'm here to do is steal your top women that aren't getting.
Top six.
Yeah, Yeah, well, the top ladies that that have been over
Yep.
and need to expand. They need to broaden her horizons, and so that you can bring up another batch of these, indie women that are starting to develop now. Put them on Impact. Your grizzled Impact veterans, if you will be over in AEW to help develop that division
Right.
the right way.
All right, guys, we're gonna take our last commercial break, so hang out with us one more time. We will be right back. And don't forget to join myself and Gene on a Geek Gauntlet podcast right here on Pinfall Productions every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Me, Gene, Shaw, Predator, Kay, and we have a special guest this week. I'm not saying nothing. You just have to tune into the show to find out. Check us out on Pinfall Productions on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, Twitter. I also have a Discord. Check us out on Discord. And
That's right.
You will find the Geek Gauntlet on all the social media sites. And
before we go any further, I know I hadn't said it at the beginning of the show, I'm saying it now, but if you're seeing us on YouTube, make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're seeing us on Facebook, like, share, subscribe, all that lovely jazz. Do all that stuff, please, because that helps us out as much as we possibly can, and it makes us better, and it, once again, furthers everything, and we can bring you the best quality. We try to bring you the best quality product we possibly can every day.
That's
that
right.
we're on here when we're on here.
Exactly right.
So we're gonna reshoot or re-go over everything. So NXT had its War Games over this weekend. Once again, a phenomenal War Games. Like I had said, a B+ effort on the War Games. I was impressed from start to finish. There, if I had to break down each individual match and rate each individual match, they'd be, I'd say anything from the beginning match was probably, your 3-star, the North American Championship was probably 2 stars at best. So anything from 2 to about a 4-star banger at the end, for sure, for 100% sure. And this whole deal between Impact and AEW, I want to say it's going to benefit, but I feel that it's like I was saying, it's a one-sided deal. If anything, what AEW is getting out of it is probably going to be a stronger women's division, which it needs desperately.
Yes,
but it's not going to benefit any of the other divisions, even for AEW or for Impact. You're just going to be able to see a little bit more of their talent on both shows, showcasing themselves a little bit better. I would like to see, and they're trying to book for it. I don't know if it's a true booking. I've seen like a rumor-ish book of like the Good Brothers versus Young Bucks could happen, which would be really good to see. I would like to see is FTR versus the North for sure. That would be a banging match. Just as I'm saying, but. In the end of the day, it's not you're not developing anything really truly for Impact. You're not truly developing anything AEW wise. It's at that end of the day, behind the scenes, it's really going to develop that women's division, which it really, really does need. As we already know, and has been mentioned, prior months back, AEW does have AEW games coming. They're trying to get a video game. Coming out. I know that they showed the trailer here like a month ago, a couple months back, in October into November. If you haven't already heard about it, seen it, the trailer was, I just want to mention this, the trailer was okay looking. I think there's going to be more polish to it. They look a little bloated, the characters anyways. I hope that's not the way the final product is. And they're also going to have a mobile game as well.
Okay.
And And the mobile game is AEW General Manager. So you're going to be able to take control of the talent, be a general manager, and go from there.
And if you get the intellectual rights from AEW to put some of their guys in there too, or that roster in there, it's going to make it that much better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, this could be a beneficial thing for Impact. Because Impact doesn't have its own video game. They did have it one time. I would remember playing it, the Activision one, and it was pretty much a button masher. It wasn't really a wrestling game. It was a button. It was a button mash. I like the story. We got a good thing out of it, which was suicide. But other than that, but and all in all, like I said, Impact and AEW, the working, I think it's a one-sided affair. And then over on the other hand, we had NXT with its Wargames banging out another good series of match. The only other thing that we can really mention or talk about is Killian Cross is back. He's full healthy. He showed up this week in NXT and pretty much took out Damian Priest. And so there's a feud banging out there. I think that's where you're going to see. And like we already noted, that was noted in the Takeover War Games. Finn Balor's back, and he was picking out his who's going to be next. And we had Pete Dunne came out. I think Priest came out. Scarlett came out to sort of mention that. Scarlett came out, and Kyle O'Reilly came out, and they were like this triangle of guys talking. Finn jumps out of it. Then Scarlett comes out. She sort of sets the way, and he pretty much says whenever that wants to do, or whenever he's ready to go, the prince is ready ready for him. And Damian Priest sets up his own foreshadowing. Well, I know he's probably in the car. If he doesn't want to get out of his car, then he knows where I am. And then later on, that's when when there was doing The Way was being talked about. That's when we got that. So, in all, it's been a banging week in professional wrestling. Highs, lows, slips, spills, thrills, and chills throughout all. Do you have anything that you want to comment on about this week in professional wrestling, Will?
No. Just happy that we got some type of excitement with the merger, no matter how long it lasts. I'm a big fan of women's wrestling, so hopefully we get some improvement there on that side. And that's pretty much about it. I know it's not going to be a forever merger, but let's take it for as long as we can get it. We'll see the AEW ladies get better, and we'll see more of the Impact ladies on TV, which is I have no issues with. No issues with. All right, man. We'll go ahead and close this out.
With that being said, you can stay tuned to us here every Thursday for the Total Nonstop podcast, where we review the week's worth of what we can in professional wrestling. I know I didn't give you any Raw or SmackDown. Really very little going on there. Am I true in saying that Goldberg is back from the sounds of things against Roman Reigns? Really? Yeah.
Bruh.
But
he's got like 2 years of matches, I think.
I know
2-year period for so many matches in WWE. So
yeah, I know we still have topic coming. We have a TLC up and coming. The big news was that now it's coming out of baseball stadium. It's actually close to one of my friends here on Facebook. It's close to his house. It's like a 5-minute walk away from the new their stadium that they're coming out of. It's a training facility for the Stingrays, where they play down in Florida. So they took over the whole baseball stadium.
yes,
And it's going to be the new Thunderdome. Yeah, the Thunderdome. With that all being said, professional wrestling has been banging. It's, like I said, highs and lows. But we're going to get out of here. We've almost reached its hour of peak time.
Yes.
If there's anything else that needs to be said,
don't forget.
We'll say it at another time. You'll catch us right back here. Total Nonstop Pod. We want to thank you for showing up. And you can find us at the Pinfall Network on the Pinfall page on Facebook, YouTube. You can find us all here on our pages. Notifications, like, share, subscribe, all that lovely jazz. Hit the bell, punch it a bunch of times if you have to, so that you can get all your notifications. And don't forget, this weekend, Revolution, the Evolution of Revolution pay-per-view gets kicked off, or the bracket of that tournament gets kicked off this Sunday. Saturday, we have a talk show that's being hosted by the Hooded Warriors. Tune in for that.
Wow.
So, with all that being said and all that being addressed, we'll catch you here on the Total Nonstop Pod the next time.
Have a great week, everybody.
You too.